The arena's crimson sand stretched beneath Maya Chen's boots like an ocean of dried blood. 50,000 spectators packed the circular stadium, their alien forms creating a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes that would have mesmerized her under different circumstances. Today, she had other priorities. Human, you understand the terms? The Vorkith magistrate's voice crackled through the translator embedded in her neck. The creature looked like someone had crossed a praying mantis with a politician, and Maya trusted about as much. Yeah, I got it. Maya rolled her shoulders, feeling the familiar burn of adrenaline starting to build. I win, my crew goes free. I lose, well, I won't be around complaining about the accommodations. The magistrate's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Your confidence is either admirable or foolish. Krell has destroyed 47 opponents. He is undefeated. 48's a nice round number. Maya flashed a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm helpful like that. The holding gate across the arena began to rise with a grinding screech of metal on stone. Maya's pulse quickened, but her breathing stayed steady. 3 years of salvage runs through the outer rim had taught her that panic was just fear that forgot how to think. What emerged from the darkness made several species in the crowd gasp. Krell stood nearly 12 feet tall, his forearms ending in claws that could probably open a spacecraft hull like a sardine can. Scales the color of gunmetal covered his entire body, and when he roared, the sound hit Maya like a physical force. Okay, she muttered to herself, so he's compensating for something. Noted. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of cheers, bets changing hands faster than light, through a jump gate. Maya could hear the odds being shouted. 500 to 1 against her. She'd faced worse numbers, though admittedly, those had involved malfunctioning life support systems rather than giant murder lizards. Begin! The magistrate's voice boomed across the arena. Krell didn't waste time with theatrics. He charged, sand exploding beneath his massive feet, covering the distance between them in seconds. Maya waited, counting heartbeats, measuring distance. Her instructors at the academy would have been proud, or horrified, probably both. At the last possible moment, she dropped and rolled left. Krell's momentum carried him past her position, his claws raking through empty air where her torso had been a fraction of a second earlier. The crowd's roar shifted, confusion mixing with bloodlust. Come on, big guy, Maya called out, dusting sand from her jacket. My grandmother moved faster than that, and she'd been dead for 6 years. Krell spun with surprising speed for something his size. Intelligence flickered in those reptilian eyes, and Maya revised her strategy on the fly. This wasn't just a brute. This was a predator who'd learned to think. He came at her again, but this time he varied his approach, using 2 arms to feint high while the lower pair swept low. Maya jumped, tucked, and came down in a combat roll that put her inside his guard. She drove her elbow into the soft tissue beneath his rib cage, or where she hoped his rib cage was located. Krell grunted, more surprised than hurt, and backhanded her with enough force to send her sprawling across the sand. Stars exploded across her vision, and she tasted copper in her mouth. Okay, she gasped, pushing herself up. That's going to bruise. The crowd was going insane now. Apparently, most of Krell's opponents didn't get up after the first hit. Maya had never been great at meeting expectations. She circled right, keeping her stance low and fluid. Her father had taught her to fight before he'd taught her to read, claiming that in the verse, you needed both skills equally. She thought he was paranoid. Turned out, he was just inexperienced. Krell advanced more cautiously now, his forearms spreading wide to cut off her escape routes. Maya noticed the way he favored his left side, a barely perceptible shift in weight distribution. Old injury, maybe, or just poor training. Either way, it was an opening. You know what's funny? Maya said, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet arena. The crowd leaned in, eager for her last words. Everyone keeps calling Earth a Deathworld, like it's supposed to scare us, like we don't already know. She moved as she spoke, not away from Krell but around him, forcing him to constantly adjust his position. We got storms that can flatten cities, predators that hunt in packs. Hell, we got tiny organisms that can kill you in a dozen creative ways, and you can't even see them coming. Krell lunged, but Maya was already moving, staying just outside his reach. Frustration was starting to show in his movements, that slight hesitation before each attack. But here's the thing nobody tells you about deathworlders, Maya continued, and now she was smiling for real. We don't survive because we're the biggest or the strongest. We survive because we learn. We adapt. We figure out how to win even when the universe says we should lose. She stopped moving, planted her feet in the sand, and waited. Krell's eyes narrowed, sensing a trap but unable to resist. He charged, all four arms extended, claws gleaming in the arena's artificial sunlight. Maya counted down in her head. 3, 2, 1. She dropped to one knee and drove her fist into sand. The capsule she'd palmed from her boot during that first roll detonated on impact, releasing a cloud of compressed air and fine particles directly into Krell's face. The gladiator stumbled, roaring in confusion and rage, his inner eyelids slamming shut too late to block the irritant. It wasn't poison, nothing that would get her disqualified, just good old-fashioned pepper extract, Earth style. While Krell pawed at his eyes, Maya moved. She scaled his back using his scales as handholds, wrapped her legs around his thick neck, and applied pressure to nerve clusters she'd identified during their first exchange. Xenoanatomy wasn't her specialty, but pain receptors were pretty universal. Krell thrashed, trying to throw her off, but Maya held on like her life depended on it, because it did. Her arms burned, muscles screaming in protest, but she'd grown up hauling cargo in high gravity. This was just another heavy load that didn't want to cooperate. "Here's your lesson for the day," she hissed in his ear, knowing the translator would carry her words. "Never underestimate someone who learned to fight on a planet that's actively trying to kill them." She increased the pressure. Krell's movements became more erratic, less coordinated. The crowd had gone silent, witnessing something they'd never seen before. Their champion, the undefeated Krell, was taken down by a human who barely came up to his chest. Finally, mercifully, Krell's legs buckled. He went down hard, sand erupting in a cloud around them. Maya held the pressure point for 3 more seconds, making sure he was actually unconscious and not playing possum, then released and rolled clear. She stood on shaking legs, her entire body one massive ache, and raised her arms in victory. The arena remained silent for 1 heartbeat, 2, 3. Then pandemonium erupted. Some sections cheered, others booed, and several species that she couldn't identify made sounds that probably didn't translate well. The magistrate's platform descended, the insectoid official's expression unreadable behind those multifaceted eyes. "This is unprecedented," the magistrate said, and Maya couldn't tell if that was approval or accusation. "Yeah, well," Maya wiped blood from her split lip, "I'm kind of known for that. Now about my crew." The magistrate's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound like castanets being played at high speed. The terms were clear. "You have won. They will be released." Just like that. Maya's instinct screamed trap. Nothing in the sector of space came easy. Just like that, the magistrate confirmed. "However, there's a complication." Of course there was. Maya tensed, ready to fight her way out if necessary. "What kind of complication?" "Several influential houses have expressed interest in hiring you. It seems a human who can defeat Krell in single combat is a valuable commodity." Maya looked at the still unconscious gladiator, then at the crowd, then back at the magistrate. A laugh bubbled up from somewhere deep in her chest, part exhaustion, part relief, part genuine amusement at the absurdity of her situation. "Tell your influential houses that Maya Chen doesn't do contract work," she said. "I've got a ship to catch and a crew to collect. We've got cargo runs waiting, and I'm already behind schedule." The magistrate studied her for a long moment. "You would refuse such opportunities? The wealth, the status?" "I would, and I am." Maya turned toward the gate, where her crew would be released. "See, that's another thing about deathworlders. We value our freedom more than your gold." She walked across the arena, every step sending jolts of pain through her battered body, but she kept her head high and her stride confident. Behind her, she could hear the crowd's mixed reactions, the magistrate's clicking mandibles, and the groan of Krell starting to regain consciousness. Let them talk. Let them bet. Let them wonder about the Deathworld girl who'd walked into their arena and walked out again on her own terms. Maya Chen had a ship to fly, a crew to reunite with, and a dozen new bruises that would make great stories over cheap whiskey in safe reports. The arena gates opened before her, revealing her crew's shocked faces beyond. Their expressions alone made every aching muscle worth it. "Miss me?" she asked, grinning despite the pain. Her engineer, a grizzled veteran named Torres, just shook his head in disbelief. "Captain, you're absolutely insane." "Yeah," Maya agreed, slinging an arm over his shoulder for support. "But I'm your kind of insane. Now, let's get off this rock before they change their minds about letting us leave." The shuttle ride back to the Chen's Gambit felt longer than the fight itself. Maya sat in uncomfortable silence while her crew fussed over injuries, their relief mixing with anger at the situation that had landed them all in Vorkith custody in the first place. "I told you that cargo run was suspicious," Yuki, her pilot, muttered while applying Sinskin to the worst of Maya's cuts. "Nobody pays triple rate for textiles unless there's something else in those crates." In my defense, Maya winced as the Sinskin bonded, "I was operating on limited information and excessive optimism." Torres snorted from the pilot's seat. "That's going on your tombstone someday, Captain. Here lies Maya Chen. She operated on limited information and excessive optimism. Better than here lies Maya Chen. She played it safe and died of boredom." Maya flexed her fingers, making sure nothing was broken. Everything hurt, but everything still worked. She'd take it. The Gambit came into view, still locked in the impound berth where the Vorkith authorities had towed it 3 days ago. The ship wasn't much to look at, a frontier-class hauler that had seen better decades, but it was home. More importantly, it was paid for, which in the outer rim made it practically priceless. "Think they'll actually let us leave?" Yuki asked, guiding the shuttle toward the docking port. "The magistrate gave his word in front of 50,000 witnesses," Maya said. "Even out here, that means something. And if it doesn't?" Maya's hand drifted to the plasma pistol hidden in her boot. "Then we improvise. Again." The docking procedure went smoothly, no alarms, no security teams rushing to stop them. Maya half expected treachery right up until the Gambit's engines hummed to life, and Yuki began the departure sequence. "Clearance granted," the station's traffic control announced, sounding almost disappointed. "You are free to leave Vorkith space. Don't come back." "Wasn't planning on it," Maya muttered, dropping into the captain's chair with a groan. Every muscle in her body protested the movement. Torres handed her a flask of something that probably violated several interstellar health codes. She took a long drink, feeling the burn slide down her throat and settle warmly in her stomach. "So," Yuki said as the Gambit pulled away from the station, "want to tell us how you actually beat that thing? Because from where we were watching, it looked like you should have been past the first 30 seconds. Maya smiled, taking another sip. "Trade secret. Let's just say I paid attention during xenoanatomy class." "You dropped out of the academy after 6 months." "Yeah, but I paid attention during those 6 months." Maya pulled up the navigation charts, plotting a course that would keep them well away from Vorkith territory. Besides, size isn't everything. Krell was strong, fast even, but he'd been fighting the same way for years, probably decades. He'd forgotten that opponents could think. "And the pepper spray?" Torres asked. "When did you have time to prepare that?" "I didn't. I grabbed it from the holding cell's ration dispenser. Turns out, Vorkith cuisine uses a spice blend that's basically concentrated capsaicin." Maya pulled up the station's receding form on the view screen. "I just concentrated a bit more, and bet that Krell species had similar reactions to irritants as most carbon-based life forms." "You bet your life on probably?" Yuki's voice climbed an octave. It was an educated probably. Maya switched the view screen to show the jump coordinates. "Look, I've been hauling cargo through hostile territory since I was 16. You learn to read situations, to find the angles nobody else is looking for. Krell was undefeated because nobody had bothered to actually study how he fought. They just saw the size, the claws, and gave up before they started. Most people would call that sensible," Torres pointed out. Most people aren't responsible for a crew trapped in a Vorkut detention center. Maya's voice went quiet. You signed on with me knowing the risks. The least I can do is make sure those risks are worth taking. Silence filled the bridge for a moment, broken only by the hum of the engines and the soft beeping of the navigation computer calculating their jump. Jump coordinates locked, Yuki announced. We'll be in neutral space in 6 hours, assuming nothing follows us. Something's following us, Torres said, his eyes on the sensor display. Maya's hand went to her pistol. How many? Just one. Small craft, civilian configuration. They're hailing us. Maya and Yuki exchanged glances. Put through. The view screen flickered, resolving into the image of a Zen-3 merchant, their crystalline features reflecting the light in rainbow patterns. Captain Chen, I apologize for the intrusion. My name is Velshera, and I have a business proposition. Not interested, Maya said flatly. We just got our freedom back. I'm not looking to complicate things. I understand your reluctance, but please hear me out. I witnessed your performance in the arena. Quite remarkable. I have cargo that needs transport through the Kalesh Nebula, and I require someone with your particular skill set. The Kalesh Nebula is Raider territory. Yuki interjected. Nobody goes through there voluntarily. Hence, why I'm willing to pay 10 times the standard rate. Velshera's image leaned forward. I'm aware it's dangerous. That's precisely why I need someone who can think creatively under pressure. Maya felt Torres and Yuki's eyes on her, waiting for her decision. The smart play was to refuse, to take the gambit somewhere quiet and lick their wounds. But 10 times the standard rate would cover their operating costs for 6 months, maybe longer. What's the cargo? She asked. Medical supplies. Vaccines specifically. There's an outbreak on Kalesh Prime, and the standard routes are blocked by quarantine protocols that are, let's say, more political than practical. So you wanted to run a blockade, fight off raiders, and deliver medicine to one of the most dangerous regions in known space. Maya laughed, but it lacked humor. And you're offering 10 times the standard rate? I'm offering 15 times standard rate, half up front, if you leave within the hour. The bridge went very quiet. That kind of money changed things. That kind of money meant real repairs instead of patch jobs. It meant food that didn't come from recycled protein vats. It meant options. Captain, Torres said softly, we just got out of one impossible situation. I know. Maya stared at Velshera's image, reading the desperation beneath the merchant's calm exterior. But people are dying on Kalesh Prime. Kids, probably. Old folks. People who don't deserve to suffer because of political games. We're cargo haulers, not heroes, Yuki pointed out. Yeah, well, maybe we could be both. Maya made her decision the same way she always did, by trusting her gut and hoping her brain could catch up. Velshera, you've got a deal. Transmit the cargo manifest and the route coordinates. We'll leave in 45 minutes. Thank you, Captain Chen. You won't regret this. The transmission ended, leaving the three of them alone on the bridge. Torres rubbed his face with both hands. Yuki started pulling up nebula charts, and Maya tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. You know, Torres said after a moment, when I signed onto this crew, I thought it would be boring cargo runs and easy money. And instead you got arena fights and suicide missions through Raider territory, Maya finished. I can put in for a transfer if you want. No hard feelings. Torres looked at her like she'd suggested abandoning ship in deep space. Are you kidding? This is the most alive I've felt in 20 years. Just, maybe we could space out the near-death experiences a bit more. I'll see what I can do. Maya pulled up the cargo manifest Velshera had transmitted. Medical supplies, as promised, along with detailed routes through the Kalesh Nebula that looked like someone had sneezed on a star chart. Yuki, what's our realistic chance of making it through that mess? The pilot studied the routes for a long moment. Honestly, maybe 60-40 if we're lucky and smart. 40-60 if we're just lucky. What if we're neither? Then we'll probably end up as another debris field in an already crowded region of space. Maya nodded slowly, accepting the assessment. All right then, let's be smart and lucky. Torres, I want every system running at peak efficiency. Yuki, plot us the sneakiest route you can find. I'm going to go shower off Arena's sand and try to remember why I thought captaining a ship was a good life choice. She stood, every bruise making itself known, and headed for the door. Behind her, she heard Yuki mutter something about deathworlders and death wishes. Maya paused at the threshold. Hey, you too. Thanks for not giving up on me back there. Where else would we go? Torres asked. You're the only captain crazy enough to hire us. I prefer creatively flexible in my employment standards. Maya flashed a grin. Now let's go save some lives, and probably almost died doing it. You know, Tuesday. She walked through the corridors of her ship, feeling the familiar vibration of the engines through the deck plates. The gambit wasn't much, but it was hers. Her crew wasn't perfect, but they were family. And somewhere in the Kalesh Nebula, people needed help. Raiders or no raiders, blockades or no blockades. Maya Chen didn't leave people die if she could help it. Maybe Torres was right. Maybe her tombstone would read, "Here lies M. Hirchin." She operated on limited information and excessive optimism, but at least she'd go down swinging, just like she had in the arena, just like every deathworlder who'd ever looked at impossible odds and decided to give them a try anyway. The shower's hot water washed away the blood and sand, but couldn't quite rinse away the smile on her face. 60-40 odds. She'd face worse. Probably. Subscribe and like to my channel for more HFY sci-fi stories.